In the App Behaviors tutorial section, there is a tutorial on checking for mandatory fields using the Check Mandatory Behavior command. While that is often the best option for required fields, especially in multiple page apps, another method allows you to set fields as mandatory at specific stages and for particular app users. It's essential to know that this method is only used after the workflow logic and user roles are complete. These topics are covered in separate tutorial videos. When working with mandatory fields, it's recommended that you have the Object Markers option turned on. Object Markers will display an icon when an object is mandatory. To turn this option on, go to the View menu. In Layout mode, open the page that you want to manage. In the State of Mandatory section on the left, notice the drop-downs that include all of the stages and roles defined for the app. Some fields will be mandatory at all times and for all users. For these fields, leave the stage and role combination to all, and for each of those fields, mark them as mandatory in their object properties. Objects don't have to be selected individually. Select things in groups using your Control key and you'll see that the mandatory checkbox is common to all. On the claim page, the reference and table would also be mandatory. The total field will be calculated rather than completed by any user, so this doesn't need to be included. On the Approvals page, we might want to set the fields to be mandatory at specific stage and role combinations. For example, the Manager Decision field would only need to be required at the Manager Decision stage and only if the manager is viewing the app. In this scenario, you can select the appropriate stage and role combination on the left and then set the field to be mandatory. A similar setting is made for the Department Head Decision field. We can use different combination of methods to manage mandatory fields. In this example, we would specify that the comments fields are only required if the manager or department head denies the request. This conditional mandatory logic could only be achieved using the Check Mandatory Behavior command. While that has completed the settings for this example app, be aware that an overview option is available should you wish to see which fields are mandatory in a list view. Click on the View Mandatory link at the bottom. A dialog box will open and you can choose the stage and role combination to see which fields on the app are or are not mandatory. Using the mandatory check option in the object properties as demonstrated in this tutorial may be appropriate in some apps. However, it's essential to understand that the field will only be checked as mandatory when submitting the app. In a multiple page app, this might not be user friendly if the mandatory fields are not on the same page as the submit button. In some apps, it may be more appropriate to use the Check Mandatory Behavior, which can be triggered when a user moves from one page to another.